Hello and welcome back to another edition of GNAT-TV's In-Depth series. I'm Andrew McKeever and today is Wednesday, October 8th, and we're here in the studio. We're very pleased and happy to have with us Brian Keefe, who is the president of Hildene, the Lincoln family home, and he will be staying on as president until later this year. Brian started at Hildene on January 1st, 2020. That seems like a long time ago, Brian. Boy, a lot has happened since then. So, of course, it was just in time to navigate Hildene's way through the pandemic and then also oversee the construction of the new Lincoln Hall Conference Center. The last time he was here at GNAT, he was a state representative representing the Manchester, Arlington, Sandgate, and part of Sunderland district. So, Brian, welcome back.
Thanks, Andrew.
Good to have you back here. Yeah, been too long.
Yes.
So, I guess just to kind of get started, what prompted your interest in jumping into the position at Hildene as president? That was a bit of a switch from being a state representative.
Yeah, so I think you know, Andrew, both my wife Leslie and I grew up in Vermont, north of here. We moved away and we came back from Washington, D.C. in 1991. So we've been here almost 35 years. We've been very much involved in the community. I served for about a dozen years on the Planning Commission. Leslie ran the Chamber of Commerce, worked with a lot of the nonprofits around here. I worked for Senator Jeffords, as you know, down in Washington as a Senate staffer, and I moved up here. When we moved up here, I kept a similar role with Senator Jeffords. When he retired, I moved on to Central Vermont Public Service. I was the Vice President of Government Affairs there. And then when CVPS sold to Green Mountain Power, that's when I ran for the legislature and served a term up there. All of that was great experience. When this opportunity at Hildene came up, to tell you the truth, I thought, wow, I don't know if that's a big job, and my skill set, my experience, is it really a good match? And I took a really hard look at it and got a lot of advice, and my predecessor was very helpful in coaching me through what it entailed, the job, and there's a lot to this job. And so I said, well, this is an opportunity, and so I went through the interview process, and the trustees had the faith that I could be the next leader there, so I took over, as you said, January 1st of 2020, and then COVID hit, and yet it was maybe seems like a while ago, but it also seems it was just a minute as well.
Yeah. So what was it like navigating the organization through the pandemic? And that must have been really a challenge. I mean, that started when, middle of March of 2020? You'd only been on the job a couple of months at that point. And then we're thrown into this whole new world. I mean, what was that like?
Yeah, a couple moments in time stand out to me. One was, I think it was March 17th on a Friday, and we were putting the finishing touches on a brochure for Lincoln Hall because we were going into fundraising for it. And we were in my new office. It was still, I've only been there 2.5 months, sitting around a table smaller than this. There were 6 of us hovered around this thing. And 2 days later, our gates are locked. Everybody had to stay away from each other. We didn't know what was going on. And but what we did know is we were shutting the gates, and we didn't know whether we would have weddings that year. We didn't know if we'd have summer camps. We didn't know anything. And we had a staff of 30 people, and I had to go through the list and lay people off, and it was terrible. Mm-hmm. It was one of the hardest things I'd ever done, is lay people off, to make those. When we're making phone calls, of course, you're not doing it face to face because everybody's back in their own home. Wow. And that was tough. It turned out the payroll protection program money, we applied for it right away. We got it before Memorial weekend, so we brought people back on. But calling people up, colleagues, we have a great staff at Hildene, and calling people up and saying, I'm sorry, but we're going to have to lay you off. You'll be eligible for unemployment. That was terrible. Another moment in time was when we decided to cancel our summer camps, because Hildene is known for our summer camps. We have great education programs year-round with our school groups, and really what we do at Hildene is education all the way around. But I remember sitting around outside, we're all like 8 feet away from each other. It was a sunny day, and by then it was probably late April or early May, and some had started coming back, and there were just too many uncertainties. We couldn't we had to cancel the camps, and it was heartbreaking, especially for our educators that live for these camps. People, in knowing the kids and the parents that count on them or at least look forward to them, and that was an awful thing. But we came up with this thing called Camp in a Box. And I saw
right.
just today I gave a tour to someone, and I saw a little poster up on the board, and we still offer it. And basically, for parents, when you have your kids, you can come in and check out this box that it's a toolkit for how to learn out in nature by yourself or with your parent or with your caretaker or whoever. So, the layoffs, the canceling of the summer camps, the fact we didn't have any weddings that year, but eventually it all came back, but it came back differently, and it came back slowly too. And we faced workforce issues. Custodial was especially hard to fill, and sometimes you don't think of the vital roles. Like, I know right now there's a lot of what's essential, what's not essential. At Hildene, all those roles are essential, and getting people back and filling those roles post-COVID, it was a challenge.
Yeah,
I feel we have a great staff now. I feel we're pretty stable. If anything, we're understaffed, and I'm sure a lot of my colleagues would agree with that, but we have a great, solid staff right now.
So the other big project, as I mentioned at the top there, was the Lincoln Hall project. I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about that. That's a large conference center. What is the purpose that building is going to serve?
Well, the main purpose is to let us do programming in an accelerated way, to really expand our programming. Because right now we don't, well, now we do, but then we did not have a space in which to do these programmings, to have conferences, to lectures, Q&A panels, things like that. Because what we had before, or what we had when I joined, was a tent, which was lovely for our weddings, and it had a separate building that had catering kitchen and restrooms. Just kind of married up the tent mid-May and take it down mid-October. But it's very hard to do programming in there because it's not really set up for it, and you're vulnerable to the elements. And that happened time and again. We'd set up some program and it would rain or the wind, and it just wasn't working. So the primary purpose of this new hall was to have new programming. And of course, we do a lot of weddings at Hildene. So the tent, people love the tent. But this new building is vastly superior to that. So this is on this Lincoln Hall is on 2 levels. There's the main level, the big ballroom, and the beautiful view of Mount Equinox. And then there's an undercroft, which is yet unfinished. That's the last part. We're still raising money for that. But down in the lower level, we'll have an orientation exhibit. We'll have some conference rooms. We'll have a small kitchen for food service out to the new patio that's at that lower level, and we'll have ADA modern accessible bathrooms. So it'll be the kind of the first stop for our day guests to come in and to get oriented and to really understand all that there is at Hildene, because there's a lot at Hildene, and it's hard to explain it all when you're selling somebody a ticket, especially when they're queued up 10 deep. So.
Right. I mean, you have a farm, you have the main house itself, where Robert Todd Lincoln, I guess it was his summer home there for, what, 20 or so years, 20 or 25
For him,
years?
it was 21 years, but
Yeah.
it was for his family, the 3 generations,
Right.
it was 60 years. I mean, it was 70 years. It was built in 1905, and Peggy, the last Lincoln descendant to live there, she died in 1975. So it was all the Lincoln family there. And what's really special about Hildene, the family home, is that it was only Lincolns that lived there. It was Robert. It was 3 generations, as I just said, up to 1975, and all of the furnishings that were there originally with Robert and Mary in 1905 remain there. It was very messy when Peggy died. She was not known for her housekeeping. She was a wonderful woman, well loved in the community, but it was kind of messy. But all of the stuff was there, and it was a matter of doing the restoration and putting it back together. And so, of course, today it's just. It's amazing right now, yes.
So I think I recall, was it a couple of weeks ago or maybe a month or 2 ago, you had a big Lincoln conference at Lincoln Hall. I'm wondering, I would imagine that's going to be the primary vehicle for kind of, continuing to keep the Lincoln legacy kind of front and center. Are there going to be plans for other conferences like that, or discussions about, what did Lincoln mean historically, and perhaps what his relevance is for today?
Absolutely. I mean, that Lincoln Forum at Hildene, the first annual we had, it was actually last April. And so it's first of all, it's during mud season, and one of the best uses of Lincoln Hall is those off seasons, those mud season thing. I mean, you've lived here a long time, I've lived here a long time. Getting people to come to Manchester in those shoulder seasons is critical to a lot of businesses. So we had the first annual last year. We partnered with the Lincoln Forum, which is at the time a 29-year organization that meets every year in Gettysburg to honor the Gettysburg Address, Lincoln scholars, authors, and such. And so for the past 5 or 6 years, we've been talking about, well, when Lincoln Hall's up, well, let's do this in the spring. We'll do the fall in Gettysburg, the spring in Manchester. And so we had a great conference last year. It sold out at 150 people. It sold out in a couple weeks. I looked at the registrations. There were people from 35 different states that came to Manchester in April to attend this 3-day conference. Had a Friday night at the Equinox Hotel, all day at Hildene on Saturday, and then a Sunday morning wrap-up session. And we're going to do a similar thing this coming May 1 through 3 at Lincoln Hall. It'll be the second annual Lincoln Forum. Harold Holzer is the head of the Lincoln Forum. He's a well-known scholar, and it's really exciting. And we talk about the Lincoln family values. When we focus in Gettysburg, they focus on Lincoln, the Civil War, the Battle of Gettysburg, and those sorts of things. At Hildene, of course, we focus on Abraham Lincoln, his presidency, his pertinence, but we also focus on other members of the family, like Robert, like Peggy, and other elements of the Manchester community. So it broadens out that legacy a little bit more.
What do you think Lincoln's legacy or relevance is to our times today? I mean, it seems like we're in a very polarized era politically, and of course Lincoln was president during, I guess, the ultimate polarization moment in U.S. history. When you have those scholars come and talk about Lincoln's role in U.S. history, kind of do they speak at all as to how that would apply to today, or is there some message that Lincoln could talked about that applies to today's times?
I think the story and the character of Abraham Lincoln can always be found to be applicable to almost any situation, and I've really observed that in Gettysburg. And when you just look at the number of books that are written about Abraham Lincoln, other than Jesus Christ, there's no other historical figure that has as much written about them than Abraham Lincoln. And at the Gettysburg Lincoln Forum, there's usually a dozen new books that come out every year, and this is how long after he's been dead. And in coming up in May at the Manchester Lincoln Forum, at the Hildene Lincoln Forum, there'll be some more new books coming out. David Kent, who's an author from Washington, D.C., has a new book about the Lincolns in New England, and so that'll be a topic of this forum. Relevance today, there are so many things, so I'll mention two. And I was talking to someone yesterday about societal change and how sometimes it's not as slow as people want, and sometimes they think it's going in the wrong direction. And one person thinks it's going in the wrong direction this way, and others. And so Frederick Douglass, of course, was a contemporary of Abraham Lincoln, President Lincoln, and they knew each other. And Frederick Douglass was invited to the White House on a couple occasions, and Frederick Douglass was a close observer of President Lincoln, and he was a critic of Abraham Lincoln often. And he, at one point, said, and I think this was after President Lincoln was assassinated and they're still sort of defining his legacy, he said, Abraham Lincoln did not always move as fast as we wanted him to. There were times we were very frustrated that he would not move faster in the direction we wanted him to go. But he always moved in the right direction. And it's kind of like that phrase. How does it go? The arc of
Time, history,
the arc of
whatever.
history is, but it always bends toward justice. And I
Right.
think that was applicable there. And the other thing is, at Lincoln's time, and this is back when he was more a state senator in Illinois, during the time of the Lincoln-Douglas debates era and such. Violence was out there. Lincoln was on the frontier. There was a big battle about whether slavery should or would be expanded into the new territories as they became states. And there was an abolitionist editor who had a printing press at the frontier, and he was attacked and killed. And Lincoln gave one of his most important speeches is at the Springfield Young Men's Lyceum address, where he, very eloquently, and this is a more youthful Abraham Lincoln, he said specifically that violence should never be a remedy for social disagreements. And I agree with that. I think it's pertinent today.
Yeah, well, absolutely. No question about that. As we were saying, with the Hildene estate, about 400 or so acres there.
412, yep.
You have a lot of different programs going on. What are some of the ones that you were projecting, either more growth or more changes coming along? There's so many different aspects to what you're all doing up there that hard to keep track of them at the same time.
Yeah, it kind of is. One of our signature things is the Lincoln Essay Competition. We have it every year that's for 8th graders. I think we're in our 20th year. And every year we have a different topic, and they are 500-word essays. And it's open to students all around the state. And each year in May we have an award ceremony, and that last year we had it at Lincoln Hall, and it's just wonderful to see these 8th graders with their parents and their teachers and the winners. We have 4 different regions, so we have 4 winners and then runners up and such. And the 4 winners read their essays, and it's just spectacular. And a lot of it has to do with whatever the pertinent topic is at the time. And so we're finalizing that right now. So that's not necessarily a new, but it's a new topic every year, and it's always very exciting to us. You mentioned farms. We have down on our Dean farm, the lower portion. So Hildene, as a lot of people know, is a word that Robert Lincoln coined, combining 2 Old English words, hill and dean. And hill is the hill where the main house is, and then dean is the lower portion along the Battenkill. Dean means valley with a river running through it. So down in the Dean farm along River Road, many of your audience I'm sure have been there, and some probably drove by there today. I just came from there. We're participating in a sort of a restoration of a heritage cattle breed, the Randall cattle, that's actually from this valley, from the Randall farm just down the road. And our farm manager, Kim, her family is associated with this breed of cattle. And we've been working on participating in restoring the numbers in this wonderful herd of animals. And last year we won a grant to build a hay barn and to set up an artificial insemination system, which requires liquid nitrogen storage. They call them, the semen is in, I can't think of the word right now, it's not spears, but it's, the artificial semen, the semen that's kept under ice, so to speak. And we just got a few more cows this year from a farm down in Delaware, and we're really hoping to help other sort of homesteaders. There's this kind of a homestead movement out there. Sometimes it's young couples with family that want to have animals on their property. And we're in a position to either, it's through our own breeding of our animals, to sell them young cows or to provide them the artificial insemination techniques that they need. And that's very exciting. That's very exciting too. And the other big initiative for us, I think, is we just stood up a new website. It's been a long time coming, but we have a new website, and it's going to become a lot more interactive. Once we get through this busy season, we'll turn on some of the interactive stuff to allow people to purchase tickets online, but also purchase add-ons online. And so right now we offer house tours. Once you arrive, you can decide, well, now people in advance will be able to sign up for not just house tours, but we're looking at other add-ons that can kind of be, you know, a la carte, out of the box, whatever you want to call it, that are associated with a lot of the other programs we have, like our archives or our Pullman rail car, because it's a tremendous story with the Pullman Porters and the Pullman Rail Company. It could be the regenerative farming that we do down in the Dean, or the Randall cattle, the heritage cattle. We have other heritage breeds there. We have a cheese making facility, as you know. It could be about cheese making. And so guests to Hildene, guests to Manchester area will be able to go to our website and click on these add-ons and really get an enhanced experience at Hildene.
Wow, that's quite interesting. So looking back on it all, you know, 5 years, or almost 6 years later, what were some of the biggest challenges that you had to face? Was the pandemic, I guess, the biggest one, looking back in hindsight, when, as you were saying earlier, you know, dealing with having to let people go and just sort of navigate through all that, or are there sort of longer term, you know, issues that, you know, are just sort of ongoing things that are challenges every year?
Yeah, well, I mean, COVID was obviously a big challenge, and getting back into 100% after that was a big thing. We have a lot of historic buildings, so, you know, the maintenance of these buildings is always a big challenge, and I'm happy to say that through the assistance of some generous donors, we're about to wrap up a major renovation of the main house. My predecessor had, again through donors primarily, had done the rewiring and put a new roof on the house, and we are near the end of a 2-year renovation of the windows and the shutters and the balustrade out front. So the exterior of the house will be pretty much wrapped up. You know, we're going to have to do it again in 10 or 15 years as these things go, but that was a big improvement and a noticeable thing, and I'm just happy to get that soon behind us.
Now, Hildene, I know, is one of the biggest attractions for tourists and visitors who come to the area. Has it been, have you had to come up with new strategies to kind of keep that interest going on, or is the institution just so well established at this point that word of mouth and what have you, repeat business is enough to keep the traffic going?
No, we have to work at it. There's no doubt about it. I mean, we do a lot of group tours. So when you're driving by the Equinox Hotel and you see a big yellow bus out there that people are loading up, chances are they're coming to Hildene, either first thing in the morning or late in the afternoon, and they're going to our restaurants, and then they're going to other lodging establishments as well. Likewise, our wedding parties. You know, our wedding parties fill a lot of hotels around here, and that's not unique to us. There's other great institutions, public and private, that promote our local economy by bringing people here to enjoy the place. But do we have to work at it? Absolutely. The tour buses, they're typically a fresh group every year. Although yesterday I was talking to 2 people that were on the tour bus, and it was the 3rd time they've been here in 8 years. They themselves. Wow. But we have to work at it through marketing. The refresh of our website will be a big part of it. We work closely with the local chamber, the Southwestern Vermont Chamber, the Manchester Business Association, other institutions around here. We all try to work together, I think, to boost, you know, we're all in this together to boost it up. And that's why the Lincoln Forum is a new thing. And something like that in April, May, I think helps things. And we're always trying. And the other thing I would say is not new, but we have our store has a new look to it. We have a new store manager as of January, and I really think we have one of the best gift shops in Vermont. And there's not a charge to come to our gift shop. You don't have to pay admission, although we'd like if you visit while you come. But for those of you who are local and looking for coming into this season, looking for a new gift shop, we have a lot of Hildene products. We have a lot of local artist products. We have the artist, I can't think of her name right now. She's from Arlington, and she's a ceramic and artist, and she's individual different ceramic plates and such. The glass blower that's in Manchester, we have his products. We have a lot of local artisan products in our store, and all of those sales, you know, are some very unique gifts, but also help support our mission.
I'm going to have to come and check that out. It's just, Christmas is right around the corner.
It's right around the corner, and you know the Christmas business well, I know.
A little, yeah, right. Well, before we have to run, I just wanted to ask you, like, what's the next act going to be? Are you actually going to retire, or just a prelude to something else?
Yeah, I'm actually going to retire. I turned 68 this year. I attended my 50th high school reunion, and I just thought this would, now that the building is up and we started to get some of these programming ideas going, as has been the vision for a while, I just thought it was a nice time to step away. Leslie's still working for a few years. We're going to stay in the area. I'll be involved. As you know, there's all kinds of ways to be involved in the Manchester community. We always have been involved. I just thought this was a good time, and I'll find other things to do, but there's not another career in me, I don't think.
I'm highly confident, Brian, you will find plenty of things to do.
I think so.
Or people will be getting in touch with you to see if
They already are, yeah.
I guess that's usually the way it works, right? Or maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again, Brian, for making the time to come down and chat with us about Hildene, such an important institution in town and in this area, and so much fascinating history associated with it as well. And some of those programs you do, around, Lincoln and political questions, always been very fascinating. Some of the speakers you guys have had there are always been really well worth the time.
Well, thank you, Andrew. And GNAT's been a great partner for us as well. You guys have been out there to film a lot of our activities, including the Lincoln Forum. I think visitors can find that online one way or the other, YouTube channel, either ours or yours, as well as other things. So you've been great partners, and I've really appreciated that.
All right. Well, thanks again for coming down. Good to see you again. All righty. Well, we'll leave it there for today. Thank you all for being with us. Hope you found the show interesting, and we'll see you again the next time. Take care.